Hey, fourth grade. This is Miss Bruin in our virtual lab, and this video is going to help you to understand three kinds of solar energy that are out there for us to experiment with and engineer with, and hopefully change our world with. The first one is called passive solar, which has kind of a negative connotation, but this kind of solar energy allows nature to do most of the work. It's genius engineering. And I will discuss it more in detail in the next slide. The second type is called photovoltaic panels, which is a very complicated label, but it's the most common. You've probably seen these panels if you've ever seen solar or noticed solar in the world around you. Sometimes you see them on the roofs of houses, sometimes you see them on lampposts. Um, and I think that it was the earliest form of technology. I'll talk about it more two slides from now. And the last kind of solar energy that I want to talk to you about is called concentrated solar power. And it kind of looks like a modern temple built to worship the sun god, but it's actually solar energy on a much larger scale. And it's kind of like a solar energy power plant. And we'll talk more about how each kind of solar energy works on a technical level coming in the next few slides. The first kind of solar energy that engineers are using is called passive solar. And it's used to heat a home or a building. And in this kind of engineering, there aren't any pumps, no electrical devices, no burning of anything, and no other sources of energy are required. So, in this kind of engineering, an engineer or an architect would come in and survey the location, study how the sun moves through the sky in different seasons, the positioning of it all. And then they would design a home or a building to let as much sun in during winter months. And they would use certain kinds of materials and design a structure that allows the most heat in and allows sunlight to be absorbed and heat up that structure in the winter, but also to block out the sun in the summer so that the structure doesn't get as hot. So they're using ways of engineering a structure to make the most out of the radiation that's coming in from the sun. So you'll see, if you look at it in real life, you'll see some structures have windows all along one wall, but then don't have any windows on another wall, right? And those engineering techniques or methods are used so that the light is allowed through and trapped inside, kind of like a solar oven, actually, if you've ever made one. The second kind of solar energy that we see in our world being used is photovoltaic panels. And these panels make electricity for a home. There's a couple of steps. So you usually see them on the rooftops of either homes or apartment buildings. You might see them on lampposts. And each cell, those solar cells on top, they absorb sunlight during the day. And what happens is the way that the cells are designed, they produce an electrical current. And if we look at step three, that electrical current is then converted from direct current, which is known as DC. And direct current is not the kind of current that houses can use, but the energy is converted from DC to AC, which is alternating current. And that's the kind of current that's used within a household. And there's an inverter attached to these cells. And so that inverter converts the current, and then the converted electricity powers your home. The third and most beautiful type of solar energy being harnessed is called concentrated solar thermal. And this is, if you think about it, this is not a temple to the sun, although it may look like one. It's actually solar energy on a larger scale. It's like a solar energy power plant, to tell you the truth. And it can only be done in climates where it is sunny for the majority of the year. Places like California, certain communities are experimenting with this kind of energy source. And so the way it works is all those mirrors are set up to reflect the sun's light to the middle of the receiver. And it's very cool. If you watch a video on one of these, it is very cool. Those mirrors are set up to move as the sun moves across the sky so that they can absorb as much light as possible throughout the day. That light is then converted into heat by that receiver in the middle. That heat is used to heat up a water tank, which then creates steam, which, just like a lot of the other power plants, that steam drives a turbine. And that turbine powers a generator that converts all of that energy into electrical power, finally. So, this, although my favorite and the most beautiful kind of solar energy, you can't rely on it unless you live in a certain climate. So, back again to those costs and those benefits. The last thing that I wanted to share with you before I go is I found this article about New York City schools going solar. And I just wanted to share it with you so that you can start to think about that going forward. See if your school is a candidate. Could you persuade your administration? Could you persuade your principal? Could you persuade your borough? Could you persuade your district to make the move to go green and start getting our energy? We use a lot of it at school, right? Start getting our energies to be a little bit more renewable. This school had solar panels put in, those photovoltaic panels, it looks like, to help support their energy needs. Imagine if all schools did that in New York City. I'm going to leave you with that, and I will see you next time in the virtual lab.